Hey, 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 what's up? It's your girl, Angelique Bates, and you are tuned into the Evening Showdown. And today, you never know who's going to be in the seat. And in the special seat today, we have international sensation, Nsimbi.
Thank you. I like it when you introduce us like that.
Oh, of course.
That sounded really, really good.
But it was all facts.
Yeah, all facts. And we are happy to be here too.
Yeah, I was going to say, thank you for being here. Like, I really appreciate this, and I appreciate everything that you guys did for my son. My son talks about you guys all the time. Like, that was the highlight of his year.
Yeah.
Making you guys music video, and he's always promoting it. Even when he goes to other auditions, he's talking about that project and not theirs. They're like, what?
And we had a good time with him. It's such a joy to work with. Like, each and every time I was standing around, he was doing something special. Yes. And he kind of, because I have dreams of acting too, but he was like kind of upstaging me at every, I can't do the things this kid is doing. There's a reason why this kid is a professional actor, and I'm just out here pretending to be an actor in the desert.
Well, it was funny when you guys posted the last video. Well, actually, tell everybody what video I'm talking about. I'm just talking like everybody knows.
Yeah. So the video she's talking about is Dunia ni Matembezi, which basically means in Swahili, it comes from a Swahili proverb, and it actually means the world is walking. Which literally means the world is a sum of your experiences. You go out of your shell and experience things, and the sum of those things, the places you go to, the people you interact with, and that journey is basically what makes you you.
Okay. See, I wasn't going to try to say the name. That's why I was like... when my son showed me the video, I didn't know he was in the tree. I was like, wait a minute, you was in the tree? And he started trying to draw it. I was like, no, it's okay. I'm just glad you had fun. I think it was a great experience. Can you tell everybody, how did you guys create Nsimbi? Because you both were solo artists.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
Yeah, so we are now a duo, and we actually met in Uganda. I was originally over there for nonprofit work in the education sector. And after doing that for a couple of years, I kind of got jaded because there's a lot of corruption in nonprofit work, and it can be discouraging. So I got back into music, which I had to take a break from while I was doing that other work. And I was originally in the northern part of the country, which was post-conflict, and I moved to the capital so I could pursue music. And I was managing a studio, and they allowed me to record pop music in my free time or when the studio was open. And that's where I met Zamba in the music industry, because it's a smaller country. Uganda is, what did we figure out? We figured out Uganda is roughly the size of California. Is that
the size
geographically?
No, California is way bigger. We could say Uganda could be half the size of California. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So so you kind of bump into people within the music industry, and you hear about people. So
right, wow.
So we met over there, and
when we met, we realized we had like mutual friends. And we had never actually met each other, but our friends know each other. Like, she kept on mentioning people, and I'd be like, I know that person.
That sounds like California.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I know you do world fusion music.
Yeah.
So, and you hip hop, right?
Yes.
So you guys mix the sounds. Like, how does that sound? Like, what's it? What is it? What's the bread? What's the bread and butter of it?
Yeah. So she was originally doing world beat electronic music.
Right.
And my background is mainly hip hop music. So I was strictly doing hip hop music. But we both had the desire of creating positive music, and music which was rooted in East African values.
Okay.
And so we began working with instrumentalists to create the authentic East African sound, but also make it contemporary. Like, a person from California could listen to it and bump to it and hear the vibes coming from it. So it came easy for me because it was hip hop and folklore
Okay.
We always argue that hip hop started in Africa.
Uh-huh.
Some people say the Bronx and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
we want to
right.
take that. but when you listen to how the people talk around the fireplace, which we call the Fireplace University from where I come from,
Right.
it sounds like rap music.
Right.
So doing it in the indigenous language kind of eases into world fusion music. And Miriam was already doing world beat electronic, and we found the perfect synergy for the music and the album.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So I know over in Uganda, Luga Flow. Am I saying it right?
Luga Flow.
Luga Flow.
Yes.
Luga Flow.
Yes.
I don't want them in the comments like she messed it up.
Yeah.
So can you tell us more about that? Like, where did it start? Like, yeah.
Yeah. So Luga Flow, basically, Luga is the language, in Swahili means languages.
Okay.
So Luga Flow was a way of us reclaiming who we are without trying to be somebody else, as in rap it in your mother tongue. And it meant, it loosely translated into language flow.
Mm-hmm.
And Uganda is like one of the most diverse places in the world. There are 57 tribes, each with a different language.
Oh, wow.
So it kind of empowered the youth in my country to kind of reclaim their identity, because Uganda being colonized by the British, and what we're also fed on is American culture. All of us wanted to be Tupac as kids. I wanted to be Nas. Some people wanted to be Jay-Z, DMX, and everything. And Luga Flow kind of is a movement that began empowering the youth in a certain way. Before, the old folks used to look at us and say, oh, those outcasts who tie their jeans like this and dress like that and have baggy this. So they never really understood it.
Right.
Until Luga Flow. And this is a humble brag, but I'm one of the people who kind of found the way of translating these. Okay, the old folks thought it was something strange.
Right, always.
Until we found a way of translating it to them and telling them that, yo, you know that stuff you do around the fireplace? The stuff that you do, kukotia, the folklore and the poetry that you tell around the fireplace? This is actually what hip-hop is about, except that it's on a different beat.
Okay.
So the moment we began switching the language from English to Luga Flow, everybody was mesmerized by how much poetry was in the lyrics, and that became Luga Flow, the movement of Luga Flow. The youth took that over.
Wow, so you're like a legend over there with the Luga Flow.
Yeah, luckily.
Yeah, so his shows have people, elderly, youth, teens, children, and he can go around and everyone can enjoy his music.
Do you know how to do the Luga Flow?
I don't really flow in any language.
Do you know what's funny?
I'm gonna be real.
I think about 5 hours ago, she was downloading an app which was going to help her learn more Luga Flow.
Okay.
Luga Flow or just Luganda?
Yeah, Luganda basically, which is like the basics, like where you start. And I was listening to some of the examples they were giving in the app, and I was like, no.
I'm
I
like,
don't think
where
that's
do
it.
I get a cup of coffee?
Question, do you know any other languages?
Yeah. So I grew up studying French, and then I studied Swahili, which is why our album is in Swahili, Luganda, English,
and Lingala.
I'm a little Lingala, but I don't really sing the Lingala. So Swahili, because I studied Swahili in university, and then I lived abroad in Tanzania, which is also East Africa. I did some work abroad, and then I did my study semester abroad in Tanzania. But then what happened is when I moved to Uganda, no one wanted to speak Swahili with me because it's associated with the army and the police. So there's a lot of negative connotation with the language. So there's sort of like negative connections with the language, but it's also that there was at one point a hope of using Swahili to be an East African language and then sort of actually a language of Africa at one point. They wanted to make this sort of a universal language. So there's sort of, when we're thinking about using it on the album, partially because I can speak some Swahili, and then it would reach more people because you still have people speaking Swahili in Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Congo, Burundi,
South Africa.
Yeah, so there's so many countries, so that includes so many more people that can access the album. And it's sort of a gesture to this idea of a continental language that was once explored.
Right.
So we were just sort of trying to encapsulate that.
When you guys
idea.
came up with the name of Nsimbi, what does it mean?
Oh, so Nsimbi basically means the original seed.
Okay.
I was like, I'm shockingly.
Oh, actually,
we're
this
not.
is.
I was like, we're.
This is what
always wearing them
Nsimbi.
somewhere.
I see someone with the camera, so I'll show it to the camera right quick. So this is what an Nsimbi looks like in my language, and in so many indigenous communities, you'll find that this poker shell or the cowrie shell exists among the Chinese, the Africans, Incas, and also people, the Aztecs, indigenous peoples of America, the Americas. So everywhere that you go, you have this seed kind of being central to the art of or the life of indigenous communities. And it also happens to be, it looks like a female life-giving organ. You get me? Yes.
I get it. I like.
So there's something secret around it. And also when we began Googling and then reading more about it, we discovered that it's the spirit of the sea and the spirit of the land that protects and also represents abundance. So we're like, oh, that's really, really deep. But even to give it more attachment to who we are, that's my family name. It's Nsimbi.
Okay.
And Nsimbi is also the first currency that was ever used around the Swahili people and the Indian people. Whenever we used to trade or exchange something, salt for this, that for that, it was always the Nsimbi that was used for as the value. It was the very first money.
Right. So
the idea of Nsimbi binding indigenous communities together is basically well within our brand, because we envision the Pangea of like a people coming together.
Right.
We have this idea that everybody comes from Africa, but then you also discover that there's that commonality of, oh, these people built pyramids and A, B, C, and D. There are all these energy points everywhere, but then there's also that Nsimbi, which is just natural. It's just found. It's not built. It's just there. It shows that we all have a deeper connection to the oneness of life, basically.
Well, I noticed in one of the videos, I'm not going to attempt to try to say the name, I'll let you say it. You guys were actually showing pyramids because you were wearing like a white outfit and it was like shaped like a pyramid. What was the name of that video?
Mujay.
Yeah.
What is the meaning of that?
So because I'm standing in the tower and it's tall like that so that the dress comes out, and then the white dress itself has ancient symbols on it, including triangles and
basically
and
everything
other
that sorry for cutting you short. Basically everything that we do has like ancient symbols that are attached to an indigenous people somewhere.
Right.
And yes, she's still explaining. Like the clothes that she's wearing have like Sankofa symbols. You have the Ankh. You have like all the symbols that are central to indigenous people and represent a bigger meaning in life.
Yeah, I noticed all your videos, like they had some kind of meaning. And I love it. And I love how you guys are still trying to make people aware, because I feel like the history books are trying to erase a lot of history, rewrite it. What do you guys feel about that? Especially over in the United States, it's like they're completely trying to erase the Egyptian history, the African history, even the Chinese. They're trying to erase their history. What do you guys feel about that? How do you guys feel about that?
I'll take this one.
Okay, cool.
Sweet man, speaking a lot. It's less so feminine.
Okay, I'm done.
Well, so our album is based on proverbs, on Swahili proverbs, and then we also complement that with Bantu folklore and proverbs. And what we found with these sayings and these ancient ideas is that it doesn't matter where you go. When you go to the past, when you look back at ancient wisdom, it's universal. So as we keep moving forward and we keep finding more division among people, that's where we're getting lost.
Mm-hmm.
And if you move backwards, you find how similar people are, because ultimately, what do people want, or what did people create systems, like value systems on? They created these systems about love, connectivity,
Sharing.
Sharing,
Yeah.
So whenever we see what people wrote proverbs about, the lessons that they want to instill to their children, to their sons and daughters, they're trying to teach them just how to connect and love each other.
Right.
So it doesn't matter whether it was ancient Chinese wisdom, ancient African wisdom from different parts of the continent,
Right.
ancient Jewish wisdom. So that's why we keep showing these different symbols from different parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
it's like, if we try to erase the past, it's like,
Right.
there's, of course, you go back and you see wars,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
there's negativity. But
Yes.
like, let's
Yeah.
look at what people were also
Mm-hmm.
spreading, like, locally, really, at like the really small,
Uh-huh.
you know,
Right. Well, I think you probably
local level.
would be able to answer this question.
Yeah, I don't know if I understood your question. Are you talking about how, like, ancient history sometimes is not given to the people that started that history? Was that the question?
Well, it's just in general, just the history books. It's like they try to erase everything about what's going on overseas. Like even with Egypt, they've destroyed a lot of the statues. They knocked off the noses. They're trying to just completely downgrade. Matter of fact, my family's from Haiti. Half of my family's from Haiti.
Yeah.
They always show the negative of Haiti, but Haiti is really beautiful.
Yeah.
Just like they show in Africa, they show sometimes the ugly side of Africa, but there's more to it. It's like there's so many riches over there, but in America they make it seem like it's a poor country when it's not.
Yeah, that's so true. And I don't know what usually the motive is, but. Whenever people mention a country like Uganda, like where I'm from, most people will tell you about a war before they tell you about, that's the source of the Nile. That's where the longest river starts, and the most beautiful river, that's where it starts.
Right.
So they'll tell you about Idi Amin, and then they'll tell you about war.
Right.
And most of the images that you see are either the UNICEF kid begging for $2 to support the child.
Right.
But then that's like... they forget that there's so much more beauty before you even come to that.
Right.
It's like in America, if they only showed Skid Row, every time they showed you America and they showed people on Skid Row,
right.
you would feel a certain way about America or Los Angeles. So we feel Africa has always been misrepresented. And also in terms of its history, it's very rich history. And I'm not speaking only for the history of Africa at all,
right.
but also so many other indigenous communities. Like we are looking at the world trying to define us with the last 100 years, but we have civilizations that are as old as 5,000 years BC,
right.
before Christ.
Right.
Like that's a very rich history to just begin to erase, so that you can only feed us with the information of only from 1800 this is what happened. Like the Haiti people have a richer history than just people who inhabit a very small island. They came from somewhere.
Right.
So are the Persian people, so are the Chinese people, so are the Jewish people.
Right.
Everybody has like that very rich history. I don't know what the motive is, but we see so much of it going around, and our brand is about us reconnecting to that knowledge, so that we never lose it, so that we never lose the values of you are my sister, you are my brother. We actually here to share, and there's so much for everybody to share. The world has abundance. Our brand is about egalitarianism.
And I think that the world needs more of that, because it's so much craziness going on, and they're trying to separate. But it's like you said, everyone is, you're my brother, you're my sister. It's a family.
Yes.
You guys will probably definitely understand this question. How much of an effect do you think music has on the world? Because I always tell people
Yeah.
that negative, some music is very negative, and I
Yeah.
tell them that actually affects people. And they're like, oh no, it's just a beat. I'm like, no, because if you spend the whole day listening to classical music, or if
Yeah.
you spend the whole day listening to just instrumentals or mood, or just anything that's just mellow, it's a different mood. But if you listen to heavy metal, rah, 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 whatever, you're going to be in a different mind state. And I feel like with the music that's being put out there, I feel like it's adding to a lot of the problems in the world. How do you guys feel about what's happening with the music nowadays?
Take that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I was saying earlier, that I was in nonprofit work, and then I moved into music, and I was making kind of this pop music that had really no content, no meaning. Was kind of party music for a year, 2 years maximum. I hadn't really found my voice, and that's kind of just while I was feeling jaded and still struggling with myself. And as I grew a little and matured a little and went through some difficult experiences, I kind of had an awakening and realized that that wasn't for me, and that I had responsibility myself to make a choice about what my place and my voice was. And that's when I made a conscious decision to use my artistry to have a positive impact. And I think that there is so much content and music that is just like creating this superficial, materialistic, hypersexualized void that is pretty depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely agree.
So, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, that's
And-
how it's like, it's the same thing with like people being stuck on their phones, and I group that all into the same, like, spiraling out of control.
It's like a matrix. That's
Yeah,
what I
but
consider
it's like
it.
people, it's just like, I don't know the way forward for people, but I talk to him about it all the time. I'm like, as a woman, like, I can't create music that's going to like have young women or girls like think that they are just like out there as sexual objects. It's like, I want people to feel like they have a voice and they can contribute something to this world and like be positive or be of substance, and
Right.
and I can only make music that suggests that.
So, question, are you guys independent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're independent.
So, if a major record company, which I think you pretty much just answered this though,
Yeah.
if a major record company was like, here, you know, we want to take you guys to the next level, here's this budget, blah, 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 but you have to dress a certain way and you have to perform certain lyrics. Well, I mean, clearly you guys write your own lyrics, but we want you to talk more about money and women and guys.
Yeah.
What would you guys do?
That's clearly not our brand.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
no.
So you would just walk away from it.
Yeah.
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 And the reason why I ask is because there's a lot of people that don't. You know?
Yeah, yes, definitely, and I don't blame all of them, because
Right.
sometimes you're in situations where you have to provide, and
Right.
that's what you have to do at that point. But
Right.
for all the people that do, when you get to a certain point where you can leverage your position, you still have to do the music that contributes to society in general.
Right.
Yeah, not to be very judgmental, because also there's very good music out there.
Yeah.
But the only thing is that the music that we get the access to, the music that's pumped to our radio stations and on the internet that's being marketed to us.
Right.
Right now, the algorithm favors the songs that are detrimental to our health, even as a society.
Right.
And the argument is that people keep on consuming that, but if that's all you're feeding people with, then that's what they are going to know.
Right.
I remember like a healthy diet of music, like where you could have your soul, you have your pop, you have this and that and that and that and that. Even the rappers were like the nastiest. At certain point, like laid down songs that were really fundamental and monumental, coming from a very deep place, and those ended up being the songs that lasted, than the songs that are in right now and then gone like a fart in the wind.
Right. Well, I asked that question because, like I said, I already figured what the answer was going to be, but there's so many people that it's like they start out on the right path, but the minute that money comes in, it's like I've seen so many people just switch paths real quick. It's like last week they were just like cleaner, and it's like now they're just like taking their clothes off. And like I said, it's not to be judgmental, but it's also a lot of the artists don't realize that once you're put in a certain position, I feel like it's our duty to take care of the world. You know, you have to be conscious that there's children that are looking up to you. There are women that are looking up to you. There are young men that are looking at these artists, and if you're feeding them poison, that's what they're going to take in. And they're like, okay, so their mind is being poisoned. Just like you said, people are always in their phones and texting or whatever. It's just like we live in a world where everybody just has like the horse blinds on them, and they're just like, they're not looking at what's going around in the world. But it's like everybody's money hungry and they're selling their souls. And like I said, the reason why I asked is because I've seen so many people do it over the industry, and the fact that you guys just said is like, no way. And the fact that you said it's about the world. So many people be like, well, I didn't care. I didn't sign up for this. Actually, you did. The minute that you grabbed that mic, the minute you got in front of the camera. And if more people, I feel like, took their responsibilities more serious, I feel like the world would be in a different place.
Yeah, to whom much is given, much is tested. You're given so much talent, so how much are you going to contribute and give back? Not to be judgmental again to anybody in a position who is doing that kind of music, but the moment you get to a certain point where you can stand on your own, give the kids something bigger, and also at the end of the day, it's sad when you're trying to be something you're not. That's why most people end up being really depressed with the music that they're doing, because at the end of the day, you're popping out negative energy. So it ends up affecting you as well. Yeah. So
I'm glad you definitely mentioned that, because it does affect people and they don't realize that that's why they're depressed. That's why they're out taking drugs, boozing, and because you have so many people be like, oh, but you're on the top. You should be happy.
If your song is promoting opioids and kids are dying of opioids, best believe that energy is going to come back to you.
Right, and nobody
you're just getting the money and walking off, but trust me, it's coming back to you. At the end of the day, where do you think it's going to go? You tell people it was actually cool to take them.
Exactly. And to shoot and to be disrespectful. The way the industry has turned, I mean, we're rewarding people's negative behaviors with 1 million likes, with verifications, with TV shows, with record deals. And I will be happy when the music, and you guys are helping with this, when the music makes a turn and starts feeding the soul. So back to feeding the soul and back to Nsimbi. Are you guys going to stay a group, or are you guys still going to do your solo careers? Because some groups, they still do their solo careers and then they still do the group thing. What are you guys going to do?
Yeah, we're sort of doing both. We're gonna
Well, I know you have an album, Fire Dance.
Yes. I'm the biggest fan of Fire Dance.
I heard the music. I was like, oh, this is awesome. Can you tell us more about Fire Dance?
That came out, what was that, February 2017, so that came out a little bit ago. And I have some other singles I haven't released yet, so I'll probably release those. And Zamba has a full album that's
I have an album that's
could
still
come
waiting.
out any moment. We're all waiting.
Exclusive.
And we're already brainstorming, thinking about our next album. So whenever we're together, it will always be Nsimbi. Nsimbi is always going to have projects, and we are going to sound
our vibe is always going to be that Asian, but mixed with Afrofuturistic, an Afrofuturistic vibe. That's what we do. The video where we had your beautiful son was like retro future. It was still retro, but futuristic.
Right.
Nsimbi, the Moje video had the concept of us coming together, the whole world basically coming together, and then we had these pyramids, but we also had her as like a goddess floating in the sky among the planets and stuff like that. So we are always going to be building cool concepts like that whenever we come together, as Nsimbi, her energy and mine. But she also has like projects like that I'm a fan of, and I don't know why they're not out. Like
that sounds like the industry.
yeah, definitely. But she has like really, really powerful projects which I believe in, and I feel like dropping verses on, but then she's like, no, this is like,
no,
this is mine.
solo.
Yeah, so I went ahead and also created my own, which is like kinda,
so basically sometimes we just our thing is sometimes we have things we want to express ourselves on that are that like don't vibe together, or I'm like, no, that's a GNL Zamba thing, or I'm like, no, that's like I don't, that's you know. So it's like we basically just are like, you should always be able to express yourself in whatever way you want, and sometimes it fits together, sometimes it doesn't, and we don't have limits.
Right.
So there's always an outlet.
Well, question, because I know, but everybody else may not know. You guys are married, so
yes, she broke the news.
Yes,
No.
Go to the page. It's on the page. It's on the page.
Oh, it's on the page, like
on Instagram.
Oh, on my page.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say, how does that work? You know, like. When you're together, I know you guys are probably like have your moments like what you just said. You're like, okay, that's a Zamba thing.
Yeah.
This is this. How does that work? Because you know, some people are like scared to like be in relationships and mix the group and music. Yeah. How do you guys make it work?
I should say it's like
he's like, let me think about it.
No, I'm not even thinking about it. Yeah.
Tell me.
It's amazing. There are days where you're like, this is the reason why we're working together. You know, like basically I would have never done A, B, C, and D if she wasn't here.
Right.
And then there are times where you feel like, you know what, you're stepping in my space. You're stepping in my space right now. And I feel that she tells me that sometimes, and I tell her that sometimes. And we feel those moods. And we, also when we wake up in the morning, sometimes the lines are blurred between what is meant to be our relationship time and what's meant to be work time. So sometimes she wakes up in the morning and she's like, have you worked on such and such and such and such email? I'm like, I'm in the middle of another project right now. Like, I'm going to deal with it at a certain other time. So I should say that if I were to divide it up percentage-wise, it's 85% great. The 15% are the arguments that we have between each other that where iron sharpens iron. There are things that we talk about and I don't see them her way, and there are things that she doesn't see my way. But after, when we sit back and we see the result, if we said, okay, let me just do it your way this time, and then we see the result of that, you realize, she actually was right, you know?
For women.
Yeah, so,
I'd say creatively, it's awesome. The business stuff.
Yeah, but we both love the creative more than the business side. The business side of it. Whenever it comes down to dealing with numbers, dealing with people's emails, and none of us wants to deal with that.
Neither of us want to do it. And it's trying to assign the other person to do it.
And I'm like, you know what? You're really good at answering emails, so you should do that. Yeah, I was like, she catches me like most of the time.
I think that's pretty awesome because especially like it's in this industry, a lot of people, you don't know who to trust. There's a lot of backstabbing, but when you have your partner there with you, that's the other thing. That's the other thing about it, is that half the time in an argument you realize that she wants the best for you. You know, like at the end of the day, she doesn't wish any bad thing for you, and you're like, oh yeah. Right.
Yeah. And I've worked before with other managements, and I used to manage a small record label back home. And everything came to, should I really trust this person, you know?
Right.
But with her, at the end of the day, the bottom line is she wants you to succeed, and I want her to succeed.
Right.
And we are seeing the world together. Like, we love to travel, we love food, we love all these other things. So whenever we get like a gig outside or fly somewhere, we treat it like a mini holiday. We call it a vacation. Like, sometimes we perform and stay, or arrive early and then perform and get the whole experience of.
It's like your best friend.
Yeah. She's basically my best friend.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, are you guys performing in the States, overseas? Where have you guys been performing at?
Manager.
Recently, we've been doing a lot of stuff in LA. We were just performing at the Fowler Museum this past weekend.
Shout out to the Fowler Museum. You are great.
That was great. We're mostly booking stuff locally. We're
you guys have a big one next year, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're excited. We're playing South by Southwest.
Yes.
So that's really big for us. We're excited for that. That's in Austin.
I feel like I'm a stan. I'm all like,
we're always getting more bookings and announcing them, so that we always put those up on our website and social media.
We're also planning to do the whole Africa tour.
I was going to ask you guys have been over there.
We're working on
we're working on that, organizing, and then working with teams in Africa and to see that happens.
Yeah, organizing our homecoming East Africa tour for next year.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So where do you guys hope to see the group within like the next year or so, as far as the progression with the music, the touring? Like, where do you see it?
I want the music to touch more people. I want the music to touch more people and not just dismiss it as music that comes from a place that I don't understand, because sometimes we just get locked into, I only understand this type of music, instead of getting into a whole new vibe and experiencing a whole new, having a whole new experience. So I hope that people are open enough to experience the music. We hope to be on most of the major festivals in America, London, South America, Africa. Africa is amazing to perform in, by the way.
Right.
Asia, but basically anywhere where the music is needed, we want to be touching people and bringing positivity to society.
Are you guys going to stay strictly with the music? I know that you were working over there with a nonprofit. Or are you going to mix it with the humanitarian work, like maybe, invest more over there and help as far as the children and upbringing, the country?
Well, we do our music, but we also have an education side as well. So we do workshops and
awesome.
edutainment as well. So with the album, we do both. So so we bring that in and do workshops.
Yeah, colleges, high schools, children. We have something like that's for that. Where we can have like actual discussions and talk about how music could contribute to society,
right?
Where it has contributed and how it could contribute more.
That's nice.
And I usually say that I'm a social entrepreneur as well, because I've seen music actually save lives.
Yes.
And I used to do so many songs and campaigns that were geared towards public health.
Right.
And I remember one of my most impactful songs was a song called Story Aluka, which was a story about the story of Luke. And it was basically a cautionary thing, because AIDS was a big thing that was coming into my country, and the youth were still being reckless.
Right.
And it took a voice of a youth through hip hop to tell people to be cautious. And the Ministry of Health picked it up, and then we began using it as a whole campaign. And up to this day, I still get people saying, that song scared me so much, but it kind of told me, it taught me to save my life, that my life was precious. So I've seen music really save lives, not only in oh, we are fundraising for something, but actually messages where you go to a classroom and it's part of edutainment, it's part of a program, and the youth come through, get HIV tested, and then do all these other campaigns, and they get involved in it, and it's useful that way. I want to keep on doing more of that, and I hope Nsimbi can also find other programs where we could do that.
Right.
And I also have a dream where I have in my head, I haven't built it yet, but going back to Africa and then having a place where the youth can gather and then learn to use their skills to survive, like their skills in art. Basically have an art school where people can come and learn how to act, how to produce, how to host radio, how to write songs better, write scripts.
Oh, wow.
I would love to have such a place, and that will make me really happy.
You guys should like create a non-profit.
Yeah.
That
she
sounds like
she doesn't want to do non-profit anymore because she has seen the corruption in the non-profit world too.
Right. Okay.
But hopefully
well,
we can.
if you guys create it, it kind of set the tone for it, right? I mean, I don't know about that world. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
But I feel like that would actually be something that's needed, and coming from you guys, that way you don't have to worry about another organization supposedly putting it together and controlling the money. You guys would know what's happening with it. That's just a thought.
It's a beautiful thought. It's a beautiful thought because we have also witnessed friends of ours who are doing who are doing really well, like really good social entrepreneurship on the ground, but they don't use this thing where the money comes in and then it pays the workers. They drive very good cars and very little trickles down to the people. We have seen organizations and worked with organizations like the Go campaign, which we performed for recently, where the money is actually given to people in the community to develop projects on their own, or projects that are going on, and they fund those projects. They give them the money to continue working on those projects. That's the tangible change that, but that's the discussion that we should have.
I see.
Over
here. I saw them standing, giving ideas.
And you'll be a part of it. We'll invite you if we have that one.
You will. I'm putting positive vibes out there. All positivity. So, what advice would you give to the youth that, whether it's entertainment or anything, if they want to change the world? Because you have so many people that just, they sit around and they see what's going on in the world, but they just don't know what to do. They think they have to be a celebrity. They think they have to have a lot of money, but it's really more than that. What advice would you give to the youth? Because I think it starts with the youth.
Yeah. Miss Deepak Chopra.
It's like in the mic.
My advice to the youth is always usually don't be afraid to speak the truth. The truth is a bitter pill usually, but the truth saves lives at the end of the day. Be yourself and always don't be afraid to speak the truth. And we have a saying in Luganda, Neziko kolima gali maji, which basically translates to the roosters. I'm putting this in. The roosters that you hear crowing right now were once eggs. So the people that you see with a big voice right now also used to be eggs. So start young. Start young and start impacting the people around you. Nobody's small. Everybody's voice is huge enough. And this sounds corny, but I always tell people to also believe in themselves and believe in their dreams. Because the dream is much more important than reality. If I had only seen my circumstances and chosen to stay in those circumstances, or if my dad had never dreamed of a better life for me, I wouldn't be who I am right now. But it started with him dreaming, and right now I'm in a different zone, and probably my kids are also going to be in a very different zone, but we have all impacted people in a different way. My dad is not a rich man. I am not a very wealthy man, but with my voice, I'm able to impact a couple of lives here and there. And it always starts with just being with the person next to you. It doesn't start with the whole village. You're not going to start with the whole village. You're going to start with one person, and then one person tells the other person tells the other person, and that's how movements begin.
I would say don't be afraid to feel lost, like you don't know what you're doing or what you want to do, and don't be afraid to fail, because a lot of people don't know where they're going, and it's all an experiment, and everything is temporary. Like, you could feel lost, you could be doing something that you think is the right direction, and then you decide, actually, I don't like to do this, or that's the wrong thing, or something embarrassing could happen, but it's only temporary, and then a new chapter starts. So anything can be anything, any idea is possible. So you just move forward, one foot in front of the other, and you're gonna get there. So it's just, everyone's just doing what they're doing and trying to figure it out. Whatever age they are.
Everybody's
Whatever
faking
age.
it. Everybody is faking
we're
it at a
faking it
certain
until
point.
we
Everybody's
make
just
it,
trying to
right?
figure it out.
Yeah.
The moment you know that everybody's just trying to figure it out, you're in a much better space to experiment with yourself. Everybody's just trying to figure it out.
Well, I have it's something that you mentioned about growing up, because, like I said, a lot of people feel like they have to come from money, or they have to live in the Hamptons or something. When did you come to the States?
For me, it's been 3 years ago is when I came to the States.
Okay, so you were home that whole time.
Yeah.
When you were growing up, did you want to be an artist, or like how did that even happen?
So I really fought to be an artist.
Okay.
I didn't grow up wanting to be an artist, but when I felt that music gave me an outlet, I really fought to be an artist.
Okay.
To a point where it was rebellious, to a point where nobody understood me except I understood myself.
Yeah, I think we both kind of share that.
We both share that. Like we, she experiences hers in a very different way. I experience mine in a very, very different way.
Definitely want to hear it from both of you guys.
Yes, but for me, it's to a point where they told my sisters were told not to give me any money when they saw me struggling, because I turned down a job because I wanted to be a rapper, and rap wasn't even really a popular thing. It was another type of music called raga, which was popular, and everybody was doing that. And I had these cornrows, and everybody thought I was copying this from rap videos, and I used to feel so frustrated because people did not know their history, the Maasai, the Nubians, and I was a very opinionated young boy. So for all these things, I chose it to be my revolution, and I was going to fight and be successful at the end of the day. And it took me a while. It took me a lot of suffering, and through that suffering, I created one of my best works up to now. That it's the album that I'm still searching for to recreate. But from that time, I encountered my most honest self. Like, I was bare naked, and all I had was a mattress on the floor and a place where I could slot in CDs and play beats and just be with myself. I would see pictures on the wall, write stories, and when that album came out, everybody related to it because it was coming from a very, very honest place. I never really wanted to be a musician, but when I encountered music and found out what music could do, I really fought to be that person, and I'm still that person to this day.
What was your history as far as growing up? Did you want to be an artist?
I had always loved music, and I always was singing and was in choruses and a cappella groups and all that, so it was part of my life, but I never thought that I would pursue that. I come from sort of an academic family, and the idea of pursuing arts professionally is like a kind of a no-go. I'm from East Coast, from Boston. It's like even like kind of people laugh at like
whoa,
who's
you're
out
in
LA
California singing?
So I was out doing nonprofit work after college, and it sort of was because I was in Uganda, so far removed from my family. So first of all, I was started to be able to like cut the umbilical cord with that. And then once I was realizing just like kind of becoming like disillusioned in general with that work, and also just having this big hole in terms of not singing like several times a week for the first time in my life, I needed a creative outlet. So it was the first time I started writing songs, and they were like the worst songs, like totally whack. So that took a really long time to be able to become able to write anything that was decent. But I had to be across the world from my family and like to actually be able to start exploring that.
Does for both of you guys, does your family support you now that they see the
yeah, most
successes
definitely, most definitely.
Yeah, but it took
took time.
years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm glad I asked that question, because you hear that with a lot of people, whether it's in the entertainment business. You have some people, their family want them to be doctors.
Yeah.
And they decide they want to do something completely different. You have some that want them to take that basketball scholarship,
Yes.
and the kid doesn't want to go. He decides to be a rapper.
I did not explain adequately to you. So my family is like, it's a poor family. It's what you'd call a poor family. But poor in terms of finances, but not poor in terms of love. I never complained about love growing up. I was loved. I was a loved kid. But they pay for their children. There's a culture where you pay for your children's school fees. They go to school and then they take care of you when you're older. So I graduated with honors, and then the government offered me a job. The jobs are very scarce in my country. The rate of unemployment is really high. And then I turned down the job. They called clan meetings, they called family meetings, talked to the boy. I don't know how many uncles I talked to.
Wow.
But at the end of the day, I was also reading this book by Robert Kiyosaki, which I laugh at right now when I remember it. It was a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh yeah.
And when I read that book, I was like, it gave me the kind of rebuttal for everything my uncles and dad wanted to say to me. I would always say, I know professors, you want me to go do a B, C, and D, but I know professors that don't have houses of their own. But I see Michael Jordan. You see Michael Jordan is like... So, and I used to be like, I used to tell my dad, do you know how much Nicolas Cage was paid? Do you know how much Denzel Washington makes? Like, I always like gave them all these rebuttals, and then I told them, it's up to me to break the cycle of you thinking that the child has to go to university and the only job they have to do is be a lawyer or be a doctor, or they are worthless. I told them that I was going to make money through music and make my living through music. And it seemed, for a while, it seemed like it was never going to happen. Like I used to laugh at myself. Like I regretted speaking that way to my parents, to a point where I was like, I'm a bum. Like, yeah. Like, I used to go to a popular band and see the people that I graduated with, like buying out the bar and then buying for everybody. And I used to feel ashamed, like going next to them and then asking for. I was even that proud that I wouldn't go.
Yourself.
But I would stand in the shadow and be like, I messed up. But then that would make me go back to the room, which I told you about.
Yeah.
And I used to go back like late in the night because the landlord used to knock. I timed when the landlord would be like deep asleep, and also when he wouldn't like be up. I wake up like really early and also come back really late, so he wouldn't catch me. So I would go back, and during that time is when I would write my songs. I would perfect my craft, because I had nothing else to do. There was no TV to watch. There was nothing else to do besides work on myself. So by the time the opportunity presented itself for me to record songs and record albums, I was so ready that they would put me in front of other people to battle, and my skill was like, and I would be so surprised that, so when the album finally worked out, and this is got to the point where you asked where the parents support me now, it came to a point where people are telling me, yo, we had you on radio, man. I'm like, because I didn't have a radio. My thing was only playing CDs.
Right.
Like, oh, okay. And people are like, yo, dude, you on radio again? I'm like, I haven't even had my song on radio.
Wow.
Yeah, but long story short, when we organized our very first concert, and my dad began calling me and telling me, people are telling me your stuff is working out. My sisters were telling me, oh, we are really proud of you, your stuff is working out. And I remember my very, very first concert, my family had like the front row seat,
That's awesome.
like reserved for them, VIP and everything. And even the people that I had reserved only 7 seats, like Jopia's family. There were like over 40 people. Like people had taken so long without singing, but that made me so happy.
Right.
And the whole, we called it the rugby stadium in Chadondo, and everybody was there and they were singing along to my lyrics. And my kid sister was in the front shouting. It was amazing. And my dad apologized for doubting me, and we have
amazing.
my dad is really supportive now. Yeah.
Awesome.
Even with my ventures that fail, it's like, keep at it.
Yeah.
Keep at it.
He's our number one Facebook.
Yeah, he's our number one Facebook
poster
fan.
supporter.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So back home, you guys are pretty much legends. Yeah, pretty much. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you guys for coming to the show.
Oh yeah.
I've learned so much. I want you guys to also tell everybody any more upcoming projects you may have not mentioned. You know, I'm not going to stand completely and be like, no, but on Instagram it says. And where they can find your albums, both in the solo and the group albums together.
Yes.
And where they can find you on social media.
Yeah. So everything is Nsimbi, Nsimbi, nsimbimusic.com, and at Nsimbi Music for all social media.
Yeah. On Twitter at Nsimbi Music, Instagram at Nsimbi Music, Facebook at Nsimbi Music.
That's what all
you'll find
of them.
everything there. Yeah, definitely. And for all our other music and for all the people who have supported us so far, I every opportunity I get, I need to thank them. Thank you for having us, by the way. Thank you for having us. I need to thank my partner too for being with me throughout this whole journey. Find our music, www.nsimbimusic.com. Let's have a conversation. Let conversations continue from there. If you're interested in the music, we're interested in doing so many other projects that we can't talk about right now, but whether it's filming, whether it's acting, whether it's A, B, C, and D, as long as it's related to the music that is up to uplifting other people and empowering other people and making sure that Asian knowledge is not forgotten in this very, very vibrant present time that we're in. Yeah, let's do that. Let's connect.
Promoting cross-cultural dialogue and appreciation.
Yes.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And I'm Miriam Tamar, and this is GNL Zamba with me. And
they make it.
we make Nsimbi.
And we make Nsimbi. Together we make Nsimbi. That's Nsimbi.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, you guys know me. I'm Angelique Bates. You can find me. You can find me on anything. Like I said, even MySpace. I found out I might still have my Black Planet page. I just can't remember the password. But anyway, Angelique Bates. Just Google it. And The Evening Showdown on IG and YouTube. The Evening Showdown. And you know, every Wednesday, that's where you find us. Peace.
Peace.